Deadpool and Wolverine saw the adamantium mutant fight in more of a comic book style than ever before, and there's no denying his skirmish against the Merc with a Mouth was seriously sweet both times. Wolverine has fought many a Marvel hero or villain across his 24-year run, from Sabretooth once, twice, thrice.
Good luck, I'm a huge fan.
Juggernaut to Gambit to Bub.
Did you just call me Blob?
To Mystique. To the Sentinels, to Silver Samurai, to even a younger clone of himself in X-24. There's been plenty of cannon fodder too. Allowing Wolverine to pop his infamous claws, leap off trees, and descend with a furious vengeance. And we've loved pretty much every second of it. Some of the fights have hinged on the cool location, like being atop the Statue of Liberty, or facing off against a wildly inaccurate comic book foe. Wolverine has engaged with many a giant robot, and sometimes he's done really well.
Sayonara.
Other times, not so much. Either way, he remains the best there is at what he does, even if what he does isn't very nice. But what Wolverine fight scene has been the best? Specifically, a one-on-one with another villain from his lofty rogues gallery. Well, for me, it doesn't get much more epic than his battle against none other than Lady Deathstrike in X2.
Holy shit.
Not only does this fight take place in the most important setting in Wolverine history, it's against an opponent who mirrors him in every single way, two pawns of Stryker forced to battle whilst he scurries away yet again. X2 is all about Wolverine facing his past, and it's typified by this fight scene against a fellow adamantium killing machine who might just spell certain doom for the seemingly unkillable X-Man. It's intense, it's whip it fast, and complemented by a thumping score, this fight has just about everything you'd want from a Wolverine fight scene, and it isn't slowed down one iota by that lack of an R rating. The first thing that's apparent about this mutant-on-mutant action in relation to the first movie is the agility on display. When Wolverine fought Sabretooth, they were pretty much planted on Lady Liberty's head, aside from that one really poorly aged moment where Wolverine spins around one of the spikes. Here, both Wolverine and Deathstrike leap into action, they throw each other around, and display incredible strength and speed. They feel like two superpowered beings in a way the first film never really did, and the choreography still holds up tremendously today. Oh, I need that again. The hits in this movie are so satisfying. DOP Newton Thomas Siegel shot the shit out of this scene. Some of my favourite shots include this zoom in from a wide to a medium shot, where the camera actually wobbles back out slightly but totally works. This overhead shot as Wolverine is flung into the sky, and this quick pan as Wolverine is sent careening into a pillar. Everything is so well framed, even when they're rolling really quickly and evading each other. The energy to this fight is unmatched, but it is also captured perfectly. The cinematography and editing go a long way in making this fight look so clean and easy to follow, in spite of the huge superhuman movement on display. The Matrix effect from 1999 could still be felt in 2003, not just the black leather, but the anti-gravity throws and wirework throughout this fight. It all looks great, and you totally get the sense both of them are hitting like freight trains. John Ottman, both editing and scoring the film, really comes up Milhouse in this fight. The fast-paced, thumping track times up perfectly to moments of realization from Wolverine, or the beats from their attacks and stabs. I love that he stabs Deathstrike and clearly gives this look like, "Whew, it's over," only to realise, oh crap, she can heal like me too. Stryker didn't just mean the claws when he implied they were two of a kind. There's actually quite a few cuts in this fight, but everything remains clear and only helps to bolster the speed. For example, here we whip pan from Wolverine to what is in front of him, Deathstrike charging. It's cut so quickly on the pan that it looks like we pan straight to her in one unbroken shot, but it is actually a cut. There's quite a few inserts of shots like this. It's just Deathstrike's legs, but having her rush towards the camera like this before switching to the wirework shot of her leaping at Wolverine works perfectly. Even when the characters aren't moving, the camera is often pulling off a really fast manoeuvre. The energy is constantly upheld by both the shots and the order in which we're shown them. On paper, too many cuts in a fight like this can seem too chaotic, but much like in the Raimi Spider-Man movies, the abundance of cuts works to show the unbridled potency of these characters. The setting not only looks incredible, but it's super important for Wolverine's storyline. This is what he's been looking for 2 movies, some kind of answer as to how he became the weapon he is today. The X-rays of his body, seemingly untouched for over 15 years, are chilling. It's as if time stopped in this room ever since his creation. I love the sound design during the spooky origins of Logan when he touches his claw mark. Remembering just a fraction of the pain he endured under Stryker. How the hell did that bloody clip make it into a PG-13 film? I'm not even sure that it'll get past the YouTube censors. The grimy rustic metal and blue-grey tones of this room look so good. It's so horrific and damp and miserable in this room, and it's the perfect place to host an epic battle. I know how people feel about the X suits, but I think X2 in particular makes the aesthetic of the costumes really work. The black leather of both combatants fits right into the aesthetic of Alkali Lake. For me, the tone of the X-Men movies went more goofy and somewhat Raimi inspired in the third part, and that's where they should have gone for more colourful, comic book inspired designs.
Come on!
We'd already seen Logan take on a dark mirror of himself in the gruff, growling Sabretooth, but here the Wolverine takes on a leaner, faster, more agile mirror image rather than one that dwarfs him. It's the classic T800 to T1000 comparison. How do you top the Ultimate Fighter? Go bigger? No. Go smaller. There's something so intimidating about Deathstrike's cold dead eyes and focused stare. She has only one objective, and Wolverine is woefully underprepared. Where Sabretooth's head could be cut clean off to finish the job, this regenerating mutant has the same adamantium on her side as Logan himself, meaning this won't be anywhere near as easy. Speaking of Terminator, Deathstrike always makes me think about the TX from Terminator 3, just because they both dropped that same summer, and as female antagonists to hyper-masculine gruff one-man tanks, they were the perfect counterweights. This movie in T3 dropped when I was getting into both worlds as a kid, so I always feel like the tagline, "anything he can do, she can do better," applies to Deathstrike as much as it does to the TX.
You are terminated.
The sadness of this Deathstrike adaptation just heightens the fight. We never know if she's even a sadistic mutant, but judging by Nightcrawler, we can perhaps assume she was more mild-mannered before Weapon X got a hold of her. Either way, this violence isn't her choice whether she is a good person or not, and Logan is forced to fight her to survive. I love the X-Men fighting duplicitous and evil mutants like Sebastian Shaw or Apocalypse, but seeing them fight humans is always the best to me. It not only highlights the core themes of the series, but it results in even more conniving villainy. Stryker or Trask, they can't fight the mutants head on, so in the case of brainwashing or the Sentinels, they use the mutants' incredible powers against them. It also usually results in anti-hero Magneto, which is my favourite flavour of Magneto.
We love what you've done with your hair.
Wolverine sometimes got wrecked a little too much in some of his early Foxmen fights, not getting a single hit in against Juggernaut for example. What is that about? I get you want to portray your villains as powerful and a worthy threat, but sometimes the fights would go overboard and make Wolverine feel unworthy of his title.
Because I'm the best there is at what I do. But what I do best isn't very nice.
But this fight dances the fine line between giving both opponents some excellent moments without making it feel too one-sided one way or the other. They are pretty perfectly matched, maybe with Deathstrike having a slight edge, enough for the battle to feel dangerous, but not like Wolverine is a total bitch. This fight proves that you can pull off Wolverine's savagery in a PG-13 setting. Whilst I love seeing the guts and gore of an R-rated Logan fight scene as much as the next person, the hits in this one still, well, hit. You don't need to see loads of gore for this fight to feel really visceral, and in fact the guttural screams from both of them accentuate their stabs and hits more than enough. The choreography also really sells it, like here, where Deathstrike just unleashes a flurry of stabs into Wolverine's back. When we do see blood, it's this awesome shot of some drops falling into the tank, as it looks like Deathstrike has Logan banged to rights. She's choking him and stabbing him whilst he's trapped above the tank, but he manages to trap her himself and send her crashing into the water. The fight cuts away, implying it's all over, but of course comic book fans will know you can't put down a mutant with a healing factor that easily, especially one with adamantium running through their bones. I love the jump scare of Deathstrike coming back to finish off Logan. It reminds me of classic horror monsters inexplicably surviving for one last drop of tension. Deathstrike is relentless here, stabbing her extended nails into Logan's back and calling for desperate measures. And here comes the coolest part of the whole fight. To finish Deathstrike, Logan doesn't even use his claws, but he does use some adamantium. We're given the Chekhov's gun at the start, told that once the metal cools, it's indestructible, and here, Wolverine pumps Deathstrike full of the hot metal, and it courses through her, cooling rapidly and solidifying, killing her. She then sinks to the bottom of the tank, where both of them were born. The setting not only looks great, it not only highlights the duality between the two, but it serves as a perfect way for our hero to finish the fight. I love the look of regret on Wolverine's face when he is forced to kill her, and in her final moments, she seems to realise where she is, calling back to an earlier scene in the movie. Logan was turned into this weapon by Stryker, and so was she, but he couldn't save her, and so the mutant-hating general won out once again. This death is notable for two things. One, it totally reminds me of the death of Wolverine, where Logan gets encased in adamantium, and two, is it really a death? Is Deathstrike just forced to drown over and over again until she loses her mind in that tank, unable to move from the weight of the adamantium and unable to extract it from her body? This could be one of the most horrific deaths in the franchise for a character who really did not deserve it. Stryker got a relatively quick death, all things considered. And that's the Wolverine vs Deathstrike fight. But wait, there's more. In the home release of X2, there is an extended version of this fight scene with a couple of extra moments, namely this little beat here where Wolverine throws her overhead. It's sweet and I kind of wish it had stayed in, but I think the flow of the fight is pretty perfect anyway. It's cool to see the actors held up by wires within the actual scene here. I can only assume this was cut before the wires were ever painted out. Side note, the way Wolverine kebabs Deathstrike in this deleted moment makes me wonder if this was the inspiration for the context-sensitive kills in the X-Men Origins Wolverine game, which took a lot of inspiration from X2 in its design. But that's a question for the deep dive video on that game in the future. I think Wolverine got plenty of good action after this, but for me, this is everything I want in a Wolverine fight scene, all distilled into just a few minutes. An A-list heavy hitter villain, plenty of stabbing, powerful smacks into walls and rubble, the agility we know of Logan from the comics, the savagery combined with the combat prowess. It's an exhilarating sequence, cut together and scored to perfection, and I could load it up any time of the day and experience it all over again. I don't suspect Wolverine is done in the MCU, and I suspect he will be playing in a PG-13 space once again during the Doomsday and Secret Wars arcs, so I think Marvel would be wise to take a page from this fight when crafting his next skirmish. I never thought I'd see Logan again after Logan, and I never thought I'd see Deathstrike again after X2, but damn, it was cool to watch her go toe-to-toe with Blade even if it was a variant. Secret Wars could be an utter mess, but one thing I think will be entertaining will be the hero and villain mashups like Blade versus Deathstrike. Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go.
What's your favourite live action Wolverine fight scene of all time? Let me know in the comments below. Did Deadpool and Wolverine manage to top this, or is the Alkali Lake scene still the king? Sorry, Queen. As always, a big thank you to TDW Fan and Dr. Chike for keeping the lights on, for being my full fat tier patrons. Thank you very much. If you want to get early releases of my videos, or catch up on my latest reviews of Doctor Who, including Dot and Bubble and 73 Yards, then head on over to patreon.com/fullfatvideos.